when you're just a beginning snowboarder. Oh, why are words so hard? What's up everyone, this is Tiffany with thegearlady.com, and today we are talking about beginner snowboarding gear on a budget. I'm going to dive into the most common questions for beginner snowboarders when it comes to their gear. You know, whether you should rent or buy when you're just starting out, in what order you should purchase your gear, and then last but not least, just some tips and tricks on when and where you can find the best deals. So my hope is with this video, I can take away some of the stigma attached to snowboarding being such an expensive sport. It absolutely is an expensive hobby, but there's some tips and tricks that you can follow to make it a little bit more affordable, a little bit more accessible. So for those of you that don't know, I created The Gear Lady because I love to adventure and try new things. But every time I went to try something new, the main resource available was to learn from these experts and professionals, which is so amazing and helpful. But I kind of just wanted somebody to break things down for me in peasant level terms that I could actually understand. So I created The Gear Lady to hopefully get more of you guys out there trying new things, getting out of your comfort zone, and creating a life that you love. So here we go. We're gonna dive into beginner snowboarding gear on a budget. The first time that I went snowboarding, I had actually never been to a ski resort in the winter. I know, feel free to judge me. I judge myself for that, but it's the truth, so I'm just being open and honest. I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I didn't own any snowboarding gear whatsoever, so I had to rent all of my gear, and I'm talking all of my gear. Not only did I have to rent your typical snowboard boots, bindings, I also had to rent my helmet and my coat and my snow pants. So straight out of the gates, for those of you that have never been snowboarding before, I highly recommend that you rent as much of your gear as you possibly can. The reason for that is if you've never been, you don't actually know if you like it or not. So if you just rent your gear, you can go without having to make that big investment in advance and just see if you like it. It takes a little bit of the pressure off that you can just go and enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, the first time that I went snowboarding, I was an awful snowboarder. So make sure you go in with correct expectations, but go for the first time and just go and have fun. Renting the gear as a beginner snowboarder, I found was really helpful because I got to test different types of boards, different types of boots. I know a lot of rental shops have demo programs where you can rent a snowboard for the entire season at a really affordable rate. And so if you're looking to save some money initially, that's gonna be a better deal to rent it for the entire season than to rent it each individual time. Once you've been snowboarding and you've decided that you like it and you're ready to invest in your gear, I highly recommend that you first invest in all of the gear that you actually wear on your body. The main two complaints that people have when they go snowboarding is number one, that they're cold, and number two, that they're uncomfortable. So by purchasing all of the gear that you're actually wearing, that's gonna help cover both of those things so you can get the quality gear that fits you right, and it's gonna make it a lot more comfortable. When I went snowboarding one time, they actually gave me the wrong size boot, and I made the mistake of not trying it on before I left the shop because I rented it so many different times and never had any problems with it. But this one time they sent me with the wrong size boot and I was so uncomfortable all day. And when it came time to invest in my own gear, I did it in 3 stages. The first stage of gear that I purchased was to get all of my apparel items. I got a snow coat, snow pants, gloves, helmet, and goggles. The only piece of apparel that I didn't purchase in that first group was my snow boots. The reason for that is I really wanted to test out a few different pairs of boots first. Your boot is so important. If you are uncomfortable in your boots, you are for sure going to be uncomfortable snowboarding. And so I kind of held off on that. I spent about as much on my pair of boots that I did on all of the other apparel items, just because I went for really quality boots that I knew I would be happy with for a longer period of time. The last phase of kind of purchase that I made for my snowboarding gear was to get my snowboard and my bindings. And again, the reason why I did that last is because that was the easiest thing to rent. It's just knowing your board size and your stance and you're set to go. Super easy to stop and grab a board on your way up the mountain, drop it off when you're done, and head home when you have all of your other gear taken care of. That's the order that I would recommend for purchasing your snowboarding gear, to get all of your apparel and then your boots. And then the last thing is to get your board and binding. So a few tips and tricks for stretching your budget as far as you can with your snowboarding gear. The The first thing would be, don't be afraid to look at secondhand gear. There's lots of really good gear that's still in great condition that's used. My snowboard is actually a prior owned snowboard and it has been absolutely fantastic and I got such a great deal on it. So there's lots of opportunities with used gear. I know a lot of people have gear trades and different marketplaces online that you can look at used gear. So that's absolutely an option that you can consider. Snowboarding gear thankfully retains its value pretty well. For you to keep in mind that it's not going to be a sunk cost by any means. You know, if you decide to purchase your gear and then down the road decide that you don't love snowboarding as much as you thought, you can always sell that and get some of your money back. You can always upgrade to bigger and better gear as you go, so don't think that you have to purchase the best, most quality piece of every gear. So the best time to buy snowboarding gear is actually at the end of the season. For me personally, I wasn't prepared enough to plan that far in advance for the first time that I went snowboarding. Another time that's kind of surprising to look for gear is in the middle of the summer. The reason for that is a lot of these shops are looking to clear out all their inventory to just make room for the new gear coming in. And there's always lots of like Black Friday and Christmas shopping deals. There's lots of good sales if you're just kind of looking. I'll link some of my favorite online retailers down below, and you can click through and see if they have some gear that you like as well. So there is options for purchasing it during the ski season that can still be affordable. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button down below, subscribe if you haven't yet. What other types of money saving tips have you found to be helpful for you? I want to hear from you in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Is there a better way I could have said that?